A second to start. Alrighty, we're going to try this again. So that is very interesting. Even though I was muted, it was somehow transcribing. That's kind of funny. All right, um, let's start again with a word of prayer, and then we'll jump in. Dear God, thank you for each person that's here. We appreciate it, and
Hello,
we thank you
testing.
for the difference they're making in the lives of their kids, and we just ask that you bless them and give them courage. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to share a couple things here with you here this evening. First thing is that this is the first, we just launched this afternoon event registration. So if you come to adventistrobotics.net and mouse over registration, we now have First Lego League event registration here. And so once you have your team all registered, then you can come here and you'll be able to select the event that you want to register for, and then fill out your information and register for the event itself. So very simple, straightforward, same as it's been last year. We were looking at starting up a new one. So we were looking at a different event registration system, but we just didn't have enough time to test it. And life got a little busier, so we're keeping with the same event registration system that we had before because we know it's tried and true and does work for us. So that being said, let me just back up here to the main. Oops, that's not what I wanted to share. Backed up one too many times. All right, a couple other things just to note on here as well as you're working with your curriculum. We do have NAD standards alignment. So if you're working on how you want to integrate it into your classroom, that's something that's here that's available for you on our website, and all the details are there for the different ones. So everything from First Lego League to First Tech Challenge, everything's there for the various subjects. So do check that out. A couple other things. One of the key websites to keep track of is the firstlegoleague.org website. And I will drop this into the chat. So there you go. That's in the chat and available for you. If you're not familiar with that one, that's kind of the anchor point for a lot of the information that is related to each season. Has information for you to use. There's score sheets. It has the mission model building instructions, all kinds of information here. If you need to know how to build a table, has that information. There's a welcome letter you can use with your parents, your team meeting guide, all of your documents are here in PDF format as well. So we'll just highlight a couple of those as we go through. This is the, okay, which one is this? Sorry, this is the engineering notebook. So one of the questions that we often get has to do with the innovation project and how do we know what to do for the innovation project. This is on page 6 of the engineering notebook, and this statement right here is kind of the key to what everything that is related to it. So this page is what the innovation project is all about. And this is the process, the overview of the process that you want to follow. And we'll talk a little bit more on some of the details. How can you use technology and the arts to help engage others or increase participation in what you love to do? So that's fairly wide open. There's a lot of creativity that can go on with that. And then you're going to identify a specific problem related to sharing your hobbies or interests. You're going to research your problem, design and create a solution that helps people learn about your passions. You will share your ideas and collect feedback, and then communicate your solution. And obviously, the more you share your ideas with somebody who may be an expert in the field that your idea is related to, the better feedback you'll have, and the better you'll be able to iterate your innovation project. So I'm going to also jump then to the rubrics, because the innovation project rubric then is the basis of the process. So this has the 5 different sections of the iteration, the design process for First Lego League. And you want to make sure that you are in accomplished or exceeds if you, this is kind of the goal of what you want to try to do, and how do you communicate that with the judges. You can have a great project, but if you can't communicate it to the judges, then it's not that great of a project as far as the tournament goes. It may have an impact on real life, maybe, but it's not that it's difficult there. So that is the essence. This is what the judges are using. There are 3 different rubrics here. There is one for core values, there is one for the innovation project, and there is one for robot design. Now these can be found again back on this season, and this is under judging, challenge judging here. And sometimes if I lose this in here, I'll just do a Control F on my keyboard and just start typing judging, and that'll help me find it. And you can expand this, and you then have the rubrics. And this will also include the judging session flow chart. So if you want to know, review for yourself what that judging session will look like. And as we will go over this more in detail later on, we're not going to spend much time on this evening, but as we get closer to tournament time, we'll do that. But this is kind of your flow chart of what that judging session will look like. So if you're a returning team who's done it before COVID in that time frame, then this is a little different. Before we had 3 10-minute sessions, now there's 1 30-minute session. So that's a big difference there. So, all right, so that's the engineering notebook. There's other resources available. I'll just, as we talk about the project, there's a couple things. One other thing I'll note. There we go. And that is there are 4 of these project sparks. So this first one here that I'm looking at looks like it's on page 11. So this project spark is questions and thoughts and ideas to get your kids going, because sometimes it's like, okay, it's so wide open. How do I help narrow them down? Well, these are some questions you can use to help the kids get the kids thinking. You don't have to use these. You can go any way you want with it, but it's some resources that are available for you. All right. Then the other thing that I will mention in here as well, while we're looking at this, let me just jump back to here. And there is the team meeting guide. I just want to mention something about the team meeting guide. This team meeting guide is set up for using First LEGO League in a school classroom. And that being said, it does cover all of the information. It's a great resource, and this is set up for doing First LEGO League in 12 2-hour sessions. Now, I will say that this covers the basics. However, if you're going to be a competitive team, you will probably need to go beyond the basics of those 12 2-hour sessions. You can cover the material there, and you can have a good time, and the kids will learn. But most of the time, teams will go beyond that. But what you can use this for is kind of a guide to say, okay, is there something I'm missing? So even if you're an experienced coach, or you're a veteran coach who's done this many years, it may be a good idea just to review this, to say, hey, is there some idea that I missed? Is there something I'm missing in here? So do take some time with the team meeting guide. You might come up with some tips, some ideas related to it, and see how that goes. While we're here as well, I'll just mention here, these 4 areas are what makes up the First LEGO League competition. And let me see if I can zoom in here for you. So there's the core values, and this is how we do what we do. There's robot design. Robot design has to do with how you design your robot and the process you go through in designing your robot. There's a rubric related to that. This is judged. There's the innovation project. The innovation project is that project. It may have something to do with robotics. It may not, but it teaches them that design thinking and how to create a project related to this year's theme. Then there's a robot game. That's the points that you make. This is the fun, exciting part as far as it's all exciting, I guess, but this is the public part that's the rah-rah. And what sometimes teams can focus on is they can focus just on the robot game and miss the robot design. They can miss the core values or the innovation project and not do as well there. But if you want to be a well-rounded team, you want to make sure that you're covering each of those areas as you're going through what you're doing. So that's kind of the kind of overall tip of the 4 different areas that you want to make sure you're covering. And of course, then overarching that is what we call gracious professionalism. And, we compete like crazy, but it's really building other people up. And how does your team demonstrate gracious professionalism? So, all right. Any questions there? Okay. Okay, so let me see. Okay. Right, I think those are the key things there. We're going to come back to the robot game rule book. Just want to pause and open up for any questions about anything that we've discussed so far. Feel free to unmute or to put it in the chat.
I missed the
Hi,
very
Mel.
beginning.
It's Andresa. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just wanting
Right.
to know if you could share that
Okay,
link
so
in
at
the
this
chat
time,
for
I'm going to turn the time over right now to Fiona. Fiona and Sam are both with us. Fiona helps us with our overseeing some of our judge advising. She's an experienced, she's from North Carolina. They're both from North Carolina, but she's experienced with that and kind of helps that. And so she's going to talk to some of the judging. I've given kind of some overview of that. She'll go into a little bit more tips there and things to look at. And then Sam helps us with our refereeing, and he will share just some key things to take a look at this point in the season related to the actual game itself. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here just for a bit.
Can you hear me,
come
Mel?
back to that. And Sam, we can talk about the things we talked about.
Mel, someone has a question.
The game manual.
Mel,
again.
can you hear me, Mel?
So Fiona?
Oh, okay. Can anybody hear me?
I wonder if we are.
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you, Fiona.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay.
I'm hearing that people.
But I don't think Mel can hear me, and Mel did
Ask some
not hear
questions and I can't hear them. Okay, hold on just a second. Give me a
questions.
second. I have some technical problems.
Yeah.
Here.
We can mute again.
See if I can solve this.
Andresa, if you ask the question, maybe one of us I can try and type it in for you so he can at least see it that way while he's trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I just need the link for that first registration he talked about to register for the specific tournaments. I'd never seen that before, and I just need that link. If somebody could share that with me, please.
Give me a second here. I think I got it.
Are you referring to the Adventist Robotics page?
Yes. Is that where that is?
That was the first website you showed. I think it's like AdventistRobotics.org. The second one with all the rules, that's First Lego League, but maybe someone can put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you. I'll look on the Adventist page because I definitely didn't see it on the first Lego League, but that would explain. Okay, thanks.
Okay, sorry about that. I got my audio back, so go ahead.
Her question was, could she get the link to the Adventist Robotics page for the registration for tournaments?
Yes, that is AdventistRobotics.net, and I will do that here. I'll put it in the chat for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Mel.
Yep, you bet.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about judging and organizing your season so that your judging goes smoothly and enthusiastically, and really what Mel already covered with the engineering notebook and the team meeting guide, and thoroughly familiarizing yourself and also the students with the judge flowchart, so you know what's going to happen and when and how long for, and also the rubrics, so you know what you're aiming at. Those are all very important points. And I also liked the point about the innovation project and starting on page 7 of the engineering notebook or page 3 of the quick start guide. Those are both exactly the same material. You don't have to do your project that way, but you can, and it's well structured. It's a comfortable way to do it. One of the important things to know this year is there's no wrong way. As long as your students are being enthusiastic and researching hard about their problem to do with the thing that they're excited by and that they want more people to be involved in, then that's great. And it will be judged as such. Are you back?
Yeah,
That was all I was going to say.
Okay.
Do you want my show?
No, I can go from here. All right. So from a refereeing perspective, there were a couple of things that I wanted to mention. And the first of those is a couple of resources similar to what Mel sent. And Mel, if you'd like to share screen and find them, that would be cool. But I can also just kind of explain verbally where they are. They're all from the firstlegoleague.org page, at least. I hope they are. Yes. Okay, cool. So the first is challenge updates. If we go to challenge updates, that's a page that you want to check every so often to make sure there's nothing new. And you can see updated October 19th. And if you scroll down, if you scroll down a little bit, and we can kind of go all the way to the bottom, those first two, the score sheet updates, are the only thing to know there is in your paper copies, the score sheets are in the back are going to be wrong. But if you go to the robot game rulebook in the current version on the website, they have changed it to match what it says in the updates. But there's just a couple of points there that there's a couple of caveats that there are mistakes in the score sheet in the back of the robot game rulebook, the printed version. And those are just in the score sheets. If you look in the actual rules section, those are correct. So then update 3 is one that's actually important. That's a picture of the camera target area for, so that's kind of funny. They don't give the mission number. It is the movie set mission. And that's the picture of the target area. In the rules, the picture is of a section of the mat that includes that area, but has other pieces in it as well. And so it's unclear what the target actually is, but the target is that blue diamond with a tan outline. So that's cool. The rolling camera construction, I've actually been unable to find the place where that was depicted incorrectly, but if it is depicted any other way than it is in this update, that's wrong, and the update is right. And then if we go to the first page, so then we've got our clarification for doing the match outside home. This just confirms that when you're picking your robot up outside home and you want to change, like you want it to go back to the launch area that it didn't come from, it's fine for either technician. Any technician can do that. It doesn't have to be the one on the side that it's going to. So then, and the art piece that you need. So honestly, I don't think I need to read all of these out. These are just useful to know. I am going to mention that last one, update 8, which is the augmented reality statue. And that's just, that is the blue flower. If you're depending on your blue flower, it may be easier or harder to score. There may be a certain point where it's an orange lever that you push around, and at a certain point, it may kind of score itself. It just keeps going by itself. Some of them do that from about halfway. Some of them, you have to push them almost all the way or all the way around. And what this update says is basically assume that at competition, you may have one that you have to push all the way around and make a mission that can do that. Don't, even if yours scores from halfway, don't assume that the one at competition will, because it might or it might not, and that's normal variance. It's not the model malfunctioning. So that's the updates we have so far. The other thing I'd like to cover is in the robot game rulebook. And that would be towards the end. I believe it's page 26 that it starts on. And this is the, okay. This is the setup rules. And the setup rules are toward the end. They're after the mission rules. They're after the robot game rules that tell you, you know, what you can do in a match. And they're just as important as those two. If you ever have a question, where does insert mission model start? That's where you're going to find the answer. It's in the setup rules. And I wanted to mention that because as head referee, I take questions from coaches, and a question I get a lot is, where does something, yeah, this page, this is right there. And the next couple of pages as well, but this page is great for now. A question I get a lot is, where does something start? And the answer can be found in mission model setup. Specifically, if you look at that very first item, it talks about home. What starts in home? That's a piece of advice I tend to give teams. Don't forget the mission models that start in home, because there almost every season there are some seasons, including this one, there's quite a few points and some fairly easy missions that start in home. And it can be easy, like if you kind of clear off your table so that there's plenty of room in home and the launch area, and you put those to the side, you can kind of forget about them because they're not out on the table. But don't forget about them, those audience members, Anna, the museum curator, and the pedestal. Those are all things that you can take places for points. And the other thing to remember there is they start in the home that you want them in, you being the team members. The team members get to choose when they get to the table. While they're setting up, they can put them in either home, and they can divide them up however they want. They could have one audience member on one side and 6 on the other. They could have the pedestal or the museum curator on one side or the other side. It's wherever they want them to start in home, they can. So both of those things, don't forget those models exist in our missions. And remember that you can, your students can choose to start them where they want.
And Sam, just a
Yep.
point of clarification on that, and that's this particular year. Every year,
Yes.
it's like last year, the dinosaur there was a specific home it had to start in. So this year, they can be in anyone.
Yes. And that is every year there is mission model setup rules, and they'll tell you where things start. But this year, the models that start in home can start in either home.
Questions? Do you want to ask?
Yeah. So that was my prepared speech. I'm happy to take, and I'm sure Fiona is as well, happy to take questions.
Does the robot have to be completely within the launch area, or can it be in the home area behind the launch area?
In order to launch, it must be completely in the launch area. In order to interrupt without losing a precision token, it can be anywhere in the home area, which is the launch area quarter circle plus the area off the mat.
And it can do actions from.
Yes, that's a question I'm getting a lot this year. There is no rule that prohibits scoring missions from home. The robot doesn't have to be out of home before it starts scoring missions. It's allowed to drive out of the launch area onto the wooden part of the table and do things. If you do that, it is up to the team to make sure that there's a clear path there. The team is allowed to leave things there. They're allowed to store things there. But if they do that and then the robot bumps into them, well, that's unfortunate, but it's not something that, there's no leniency for that. They've got to deal with that. But there is no rule against scoring missions from off of the mat.
But if I heard you just correctly, it still needs to launch from the launch area. You can't
Correct.
set it in home, line it up to what you want to do, and launch from there or hit a button from there.
Yeah, you got to start it in the launch. So if it's going to go off the mat, it has to start on the mat and drive off. It cannot start off of the mat.
And home
that's
is a
the whole
volume.
robot, not just what's on the mat. like not just things that are touching the mat, everything in the air as well.
Mel asked.
Sorry.
That's okay. Home is a volume too. Keep in mind, so every year we usually get a question about, can it be over the edge of the table? If something's, you have something hanging over the edge, and no, it can. It's a volume that goes right up the edge there, so you can't have something over the edge of the table.
Yep.
All right, any other questions?
Can you
I have a
use
question, but it's not about the robot game itself. It's getting clarification on the ages. So when did the season or the age minimum officially start?
There's a great question.
I don't know if it's the beginning of the calendar year for the competition. I don't know if it's the start of the model, when the models became available. I'm not sure where that is.
Yeah, and I always go back and forth on this. Let me just check something here.
So, no, okay.
And first kind of goes back and forth on, is it an age or is it a grade level? And I think it's more focused on grade level in the United States.
So while you're finding it, Mel, and just so everybody knows, this is for North Carolina, and what Mel says is for Adventist League. In North Carolina, we say the lower age is soft. And as long as you've talked to the PDP, that's fine. It's the upper age that is hard, and the upper age is January the 1st of the season. So you can't be more than 14 on January the 1st of the season.
That is 2023 for this year, because the season starts this year in 2023, even if your region's tournaments don't start until 2024.
So if I heard that correctly, for North Carolina, you'd say if someone turned the minimum age in April of 2023, you're probably not going to have an issue there. But if it's
Yes.
somebody that was at the max age, you'd be concerned about it.
Yes.
Though
Okay.
the max, if they turned the max age in April of 2023, that would be fine. If they turned the max age in December of 2022, that would not be okay. Or
Wonderful.
Older than.
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement in there. The real issue on the younger age too is that there's a maturity level involved in that. And so if you need an exception or something like that, reach out to us. We have worked with teams occasionally with that, but generally we do want you to follow those age guidelines. And
Yeah,
if you think about January 1st, turning 9 on the January 1st of 2023 is fairly easy to meet.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
And yeah, to add to that, just briefly, it's not the academic aspect of the competition that can be really hard for 9-year-olds. It's the social aspect and
Exactly.
the perseverance throughout the season.
The emotional stamina is the thing that's often lacking.
Yeah, we understand that, and we have one that's near that age group there, and we're working with them to do that. But we didn't want to have him do all that work, be successful at it, then get competition and say no, we can't play. So we want to make sure we address that accordingly now.
Yeah, reach out to me if you have a question related to that.
Thank you.
All right, there was another question.
Sorry, I was mute. I was wondering, I'm new to the Spike Prime robots, and I'm just wondering, can I use parts from EV3 on the project or not, like wheels, for example?
Yes.
I don't
So
want to use
any
blue wheels.
You can use, check the rules on this, but you can use any unmodified, almost any unmodified Lego part.
Non-electric Lego parts from any set.
Okay, thank you.
So last year's, what do you do with, I often get the question, well, what do I do with, all the mission models from this year or next year? Well, they're spare parts. And really the idea is to have them be as creative as possible with their engineering. And so being able to use additional parts allows them to create some fairly sophisticated robots in their engineering process. All right, any other questions? I thought I heard somebody starting to ask a question earlier. If you do have a question, feel free to reach out to us. Please do go ahead and register right away. Register your teams for the events. We'd like to get the event registration finalized in December here if we can. That really helps us. The sooner you commit to that, the easier it is for different tournament directors to do the planning and know what they have to expect coming to their tournament. So we would really, really appreciate that. One other thing I'll note as well is that there now is a quick way to do team registration. So when your team members register, there is a QR code you can get. However, you have to have 2 coaches that are cleared, and gone through their screening. If you do that, there's a QR code that you can download from your first dashboard, and it's a very fast, easy way to get your team members registered. That's always been a challenge in the past, is that it's been very cumbersome and difficult to get the parents to sign the consent. Here you'll have a link and a QR code, and it's very easy for them quickly on a cell phone just to fill out a couple forms or very quickly and give that consent, and you're off to the races, ready to go. So definitely do that. It is very important that all of your team members are in there. That's something you need to have before competition. So getting that done and out of the way earlier is better. So please don't procrastinate on that, but start getting your team members registered, because every team member, their parents have to sign a consent form. And this is different than a field trip form that you would use for your school. So definitely jump in on that as soon as you can, because like I say, the sooner you get that out of the way, these are things that just helps, that give stress every year. We have a team or two who doesn't do that, and then they come to the tournament and they're not ready. And unfortunately, we have to say, we don't want to say to any team that, hey, you can't compete. So we're usually scrambling, trying to help them get that done, but then they are under tremendous stress trying to get that taken care of at the last minute, the night before the tournament or the day of the tournament. And it just really helps if you get that done as soon as possible. So make sure all of your team members are signed up and they have the consent signed. Easiest way is to use that QR code that's available on your first dashboard. As soon as you have 2 coaches that are signed up and both have gone through the youth protection program screening and are all signed up there. So definitely get that done. If you can get that done before Christmas, that's fantastic. Just take care of those things, and then you don't have to worry about them again. All right, any last minute questions?
Mel, related to what you just said, at our school, we have 2 teams this year and a total of 3 coaches. In terms of registration, would one of those individuals, is it okay if one of those individuals is part of both team registrations, or do we need a total of 4 coaches?
So you have 3 teams? So each...
We have a total of, we have 2 teams, 3 teachers serving as coaches.
Oh yeah, so exactly. So you can have people be in more than one team. That's not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, they just have to both be signed up as that second coach, and they both have to be screened. So yeah, and that second coach could be a principal, it could be a co-teacher, it could be a parent. They don't necessarily have to be there at every single event. It's not that they have to be there all the time. They're not, if they sign up, they're not committing to a massive amount of hours necessarily, but it's a checkbox that we have to fulfill for the youth protection program for FIRST and their requirements for that. All right. Well, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay, go ahead.
I have several questions.
Okay, go ahead.
I think someone was maybe before me. Or not. Okay. So we're doing it for the whole class of 6th through 8th grade, and we got 17 kids. So the first question, we just got into like actually doing the robot game and stuff, and we think we probably want another table so that they can, you know, have different groups working on different things. Is there a good way to order an extra challenge set?
So the only way you can order challenge sets is through your FIRST dashboard.
Yeah, and it wouldn't let me order more than one for a team. So I guess I just register another team that we don't use, maybe.
Well, so a question for you is that keep in mind there is a limit to 10 students on a team.
Yeah.
So if you have 17 students, you're going to have to either eliminate some people or you're going to need another team.
Based on the training we took this summer, our plan was basically, you know, they're all working on the club, or they're all working on it, but we'll choose 10 to be officially part of the team, and probably we'll all go to the competition, and, you know, the others who aren't officially part of the team will watch or whatever. Because I don't think you know, having two teams when they're all having class together and working together didn't really seem to make sense, because then they'd be competing against each other.
Yeah, they kind of are. That's true. And that does happen. It does happen, and it's up to you how you want to handle that. But yes, the only way you can get a challenge set is through the FIRST dashboard. And actually, I do remember your questions, and I'm sorry I missed those. Give me just a second to pull up, because I know there were several you turned in here. What was that?
Yeah, I can't remember what the other questions are, but I do have some other ones here.
Yeah, I've got them here. Hold on just a second. Let me see. All right, so the competition schedule. So that was is a great question as far as what the competition schedule looks like. You will come in the morning. It usually will open up, typically, depending on the tournament, often about 7:30 is when registration opens up. That's when you have to turn in your team rosters, which means that everybody's checked off and they've had that taken care of. Then in the morning, there will be judging, is when your judging session is, and there will be a practice match in the morning of your first leg if you're on the field. There are practice fields there for you. If you don't have to bring your own field, to have your own fields there. But you'll have a practice match, and that's where you'll go through the refereeing and you'll understand the process. And if you have any questions, that one doesn't count. Then in the afternoon, you typically have the opening ceremonies, because that's the public part of what happens. And that's when the robot game happens, is in the afternoon. And you'll have 3 matches. You'll have the best score out of the 3. And then once that's done, there's usually about a half an hour to 45 minutes, where the judges finalize their information and their awards. And during that time, everybody helps pack up, get everything as much torn down, and then they have the award ceremony, and then everybody goes home. So in a nutshell, that's the overall of the day, and your tournament director will communicate with you as you get closer to it and give you more details on your specific team there. So
and what date was it again? So just so that I can put it here. March.
It depends on which tournament you're talking about.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, there's one in Orlando, right, at Forest Lake.
Oh, that's March 24th.
March 24th. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And for our region, would that be typically the only one we'd go to unless we advance or something, or are there opportunities to go to other ones?
Yeah. So you can only win awards at one tournament. So typically you just go to one qualifying tournament, and then the top teams from each qualifying tournament advance to the championship, which is the first Sunday in May at Forest Lake Academy.
Is the champion? Okay.
So if you go to adventistrobotics.net/calendar, you'll see a list of all of the events.
Okay, great.
Mel, you had for the next tournament dates for out through the 2025. Are those going to be pretty much the same? And will they change locations? Like right now, we're going to Glendale Avis Academy. Will it stay there, or do we know?
We don't know 100% on that. It's possible that Southern California will outgrow that facility. They're kind of maxed out right now with the number of teams. So if the teams grow, they may choose another location. But Southern California Conference sponsors that event, so it will be somewhere in that area. They have had it out in Simi Valley before, but they usually we know ahead of time, kind of we talk with them and try to nail that down. Obviously, as we get into future years, those are kind of projected dates. Those could change as time goes on, but we've been trying to project 3 years out just to help us kind of keep track of where things are. And obviously circumstances change, so they could change as time goes on. But we like to kind of give some idea of what to plan on.
Okay. So the registration system. So the registration system is through that first dashboard. So we do need to go through, both teachers need to go through that background check or whatever, and we need to have our students registered there. And then wherever the other registration link was on that, that's going to be linked to that data or something.
Yeah, so there's 2 different registrations, and that's a great question. There's 2 different registrations. One is you have to register your team. So anything related to the team and that kind of thing, as far as who your coaches are, goes through the first information and all the screening, all of that. And then to register for the actual event itself is a separate registration system, because we don't have the ability to do that through the first system. So that is separate to pay the event fee. And that's a separate event, and that is through the link on there. But what you do is you put in your team number from there, and then we link that on the back end to your first registered team.
Okay, and it looks like it's this ticketspace.com.
Yes, it's on TicketSpace.
Okay. And if we're registering our team, there is the limit of 10. Can we register more kids to get the consent signed and then filter it down, or does it have to be the actual final kids that we select in the first system?
So I think you can have, I think many kids can add in. You have to, once they do that, you have to accept them on your team. So you don't necessarily have to accept them immediately. So you can send the link out to everybody, and then later on you can decide who you actually put on your team roster.
Okay.
And put kids on and take them off. You ultimately decide who's on that roster, because if some kid shared that on Facebook or I don't know, Snapchat, whatever the latest thing is, for kids. The kids won't be doing it on Facebook, but you know what I mean? On social media somehow with all their buddies, and everybody signs up, everybody spams you. Okay, that's great. They can all sign up, but you get to decide who actually goes on that list.
Okay. And then do you have any, I don't know, we were wondering about like running a smaller kind of just exhibition, maybe you'd call it, event, like at our school, maybe a mini competition, maybe invite other schools from the area. Is that a good idea? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea, to have kind of an expo. We call them community events. They're not official. You don't necessarily have to do all the judging and everything the way a regular one is done. You can do some mini events. In fact, we have in Florida, we have I think it's 6 schools now that through a Lego Foundation grant are doing first Lego League from pre-K through 8th grade. And with that, they don't necessarily have competition teams, but they then have a celebration event at their school, which is kind of like a mini competition. And they do the first Lego League Discover and the first Lego League Explore, as well as the first Lego League Challenge. But it's a 4-hour event, so it's very condensed and simplified. but it gives everybody a fun time to be able to do it. So you don't have any standards. You don't necessarily have to follow all the rule. I mean, you kind of want to you want to keep it as real as possible when you do those kinds of things. But it's not like you have to do everything that's at the competition. It's your event. You can do what you want with it.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you. That covers at least what I remember that I wanted to ask.
Okay. Yeah, and for beginning teams, the biggest thing is just, look through the materials. One of the things, that I often hear, and you'll hear me, if you've been around, you've heard me say this before, and I'll keep saying it. Often I get beginning teams who will come in and they'll say, hey, I'm just not ready for the competition. And my response is, you will never be ready for the competition. That's the nature of the game, is it can feel overwhelming and can feel challenging. And so definitely always come, always, even we have had teams come with just a few missions. That's okay, because it's not about, as long as you as a coach come with the attitude of, it's not about what I win, it's what I learn that's important. And if you come saying, hey, we're going to have a good time, if we win something, it's icing on the cake, Now, obviously, you want to work hard, you want to do the best you can, and winning's a great thing, but winning is not the ultimate. Whether you walk away with a prize or not is not the point of First Lego League. The point is that you have challenged yourself. Your kids have challenged themselves. They've learned, they've grown, they figured out how to work together as a team. They've overcome obstacles and they've persevered, and they've gotten some of that. They've learned how to have a little grit in their lives. So that's really what it's all about. And so, in the only way you can have a rookie year is to have a rookie year. And if you put it off till next year, guess what? You just put it off a year and you're still going to have the same feeling the next year. So just do it, come through, because you as a coach will learn every single year. Your kids will learn, and you'll be stronger because of it when it's all said and done. So you just have to go through it, do the best you can. Again, and it's a lot about how you lead as a coach and the attitude that you take with it. So just take that attitude of, hey, we're going to have a good time. This is going to be a fun event. If we win something, great. Yeah, we want to win. We want to do our best. We want to be excellent at what we do. It doesn't negate striving for excellence, but we're just have a good time at the event. And it's a sporting kind of event, so it's meant to be kind of high energy. And yeah, the kids will be really tired at the end of the day and stressed out and that kind of thing, but that's okay. They'll be happy too. So
cool.
What
Thanks.
he's saying is what he's saying is so true. Just do it. Just do it. He's gonna have fun.
Yeah, we plan to. I mean, I look at some of the scoring rubrics, like, I don't know, like, I don't see how they're going to get so high on the innovation project.
You'll
We'll
be
see.
surprised. You'll be surprised.
Yeah, and never underestimate a rookie team. That's what I tell people. Never underestimate a rookie team, because man, they're the sneakers that come in and can sometimes steal the show. So we've had rookie teams that have just come in and just nailed it, So you never know, until you do it. And again, it's about what you learn. If you come with the right attitude, that's what's important. All right, everybody. I hope you all have a great evening. I think we've caught everything in the chat here. Just double check here before we do. So yeah, so from Harold, is there an additional consent form or the same one we asked the parents for when signing up initially? So I'm not quite sure. So the main consent form that you need is through the first dashboard. The key is that they are on your roster in the first dashboard, and we'll review this at the next conference call again. So we'll take some time and go over that, but that's the key with it. We'll talk about that process some more. But if you have any questions, reach out to me. But it's the consent through the first dashboard that you need to do. And like I say, the easiest thing is that QR code. So, alrighty, well, thank you all for joining us. Wish you a great season, and have some fun with your kids. And there'll be a little bit of stress and anxiety in there as well, but that's part of the process. And just work through it and have a great time. You guys all have a good evening.
Thanks, Mal. Thanks, everybody. Be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.